Hello and welcome to another free tutorial here on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. In the description below you will find a supply list. You will also find the line drawing and you will find the black and white with the color photo together. And you can just click on those, download them, print them, whatever you need to do to follow along. Now I have all of my pencils picked out and I'm ready to start. So let's get to it. So first off, I'm going to have a kneaded eraser and I'm going to just touch up around these areas just to make sure I don't have excess charcoal or whatever you used to do your outline. I just want to make sure I get this off so it doesn't make my pencil dirty and the color too. So we will start with this first cherry. Okay. So I think first I'm going to start off with these shine marks. There's quite a bit of them. So in order to make sure that my pencil is not going to get dirty by all of these lines, I'm going to erase most of them. Just where the shine marks are. And once you have that done, now I'm going to take my white and I'm going to preserve these shine marks. The trick here is we just want to add a little bit of this pigment just so that we don't lose that nice white paper in the back. Of course, we'll be drawing over top of it to make sure that we have like a nice gradient, like a nice transition. So don't worry too much about all of that. This looks like we have got a little bit over here as well. Okay, so now we need to look at our cherry and we need to decide what is the best base color for it. Now, how I go about this is I look at the cherry and I figure out what is a good medium tone in between the darkest red or, if you're using brown or something on a different subject. But in this one, I'm going to look at it and figure out what a nice mid-medium tone is in between the darkest red and the lightest red. So let me erase all of these lines, at least enough that, we can still see them, but we just want to get most of that charcoal off. Okay. I'm going to go with a nice terracotta. The terracotta is used in most of this cherry, so it will be a nice transition to just have that all over color as a nice base. And it's got a little bit of a brown hue to it as well. And then we want to start very lightly. You do not want to go in real heavy because you will lose a lot of the layer properties on this paper. So if you keep it light, you will find that later on you will thank me for this. Keep it very light-handed. I'm not using back and forth strokes. I'm moving quickly, but I am making like circular, sort of ovally kind of strokes. So do that because you won't get that crazy strokey feel and you'll get a nice even color tone on here. Once you get that down, let's move on to some of the brighter areas. We're going to use some Crimson Lake and we're going to start to brighten it up just a little bit and give it more of a reddish feel. Okay, so let's get some of this done. I'm going to base it out with this Crimson Lake like we were before, like we were using around here, and then I'm going to come across it with some of the Tuscan Red, and we're going to start to add some more of those finer details. Okay, grab your Tuscan Red and let's start to darken this up a little bit further. Again, you want to keep a light hand. You don't want to really dig at the paper because that will ruin the tooth, and then you will also lose that ability to layer. And when you get to these areas, you don't want them to be a really hard line. So we're just going to very gently add some on this hard line just to fade it a little bit more into that Crimson Lake that is below. So once you've finished with the Tuscan Red, go ahead and grab your Crimson Red, and then let's start adding a little bit of some brighter details. Okay, let's start adding some of our values, and I'm going to use light umber and some dark brown. So let's first start out with the light umber, and I'm just going to very gently add to this up here, using the same method of the circles, and I'm just adding a little bit of it to give it more depth and to give it more of a color change, and the browns will really help with darkening up this red without using black. I'm not opposed to using black, and we probably will, just to darken it further, but with this red I definitely want to use black or the brown first. And we're just going to add it where we think that we need it. And then get your dark brown and let's start really adding some of these darker areas. You still want to keep your pencil light-handed. You want to just add a little bit, and we'll go back through with our Tuscan Red after this to blend it out to make sure that it looks right. Okay, so let's use our Tuscan Red and let's go over those areas again, and you can add a little bit more pressure to it this time just to blend that out and to also make it burnish just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to take my light peach and I'm going to go along these lines and burnish them just a touch here. We want to make it look shiny, but we also want to make it look a little bit brighter than the rest of the cherry. So let's start addressing some of these shine marks. We already have white that is laid down in them, so we're going to soften the edges a little bit, and then we are going to add some of the reds in there to make them look a little better. So I have beige, and I'm going to soften these edges with beige, and I want you to be extremely light-handed. You can cross over into that red a little bit because it will grip that red and it'll bring it into the white as well. So that is actually a good thing about Prismacolors. They are really soft and they will grip some of the color. Now this can be really frustrating if you don't want it to grip the color, but when you do want it to, it is a very handy thing that you can use to your advantage. Grab some of your terracotta here, and we're going to very gently add some of this color in here. Now this shine is particularly peculiar. Oh my, I can't even say that word. But it has a lot of color in this and a lot of texture too, so I'm going to break up these hard lines that are around it. Let's even grab our crimson red and let's brighten that terracotta up a bit. We're just kind of randomly adding a little bit of this red in here just to break up that shine a little bit further. Even add some spots over here. I'm going to take my warm gray 20. This happens to be one of my favorite blending colors. And I'm just going to blend some of that color in. And then we're also going to add it to the white here just to give it more of a textured feel and to blend some of these reds into the shine. Let's take some Tuscan red and let's further blend this out to make it look more like a shine and not a spot. And then we can take our white and add over top of it. And then let's use a little bit of this warm gray 20 and we're just going to add to some of these other shines. Even this one. Going to blend it out just a little bit with the rest of the cherry. And I'll switch to the crimson red and we're going to do the same thing on the edges like we did over here. And we're just going to soften those edges and make them look more like a shine and less like a spot. And I'm just touching up down below, adding a little bit more of the red color, the crimson red color to the rest of the cherry. And I like these little like circles that I'm doing because it gives it a texture. So I want to keep that going here. I'm not fully enclosing these circles so it looks more like texture rather than just a color. Okay, so let's take our Tuscan red and we're going to try to do some finishing touches on these darker areas. So I do want to press a little bit harder to make sure that I get this nice, crisp, dark, shiny bit. And then we can very lightly actually go over top of this part again, just to give it some more color. All while we go heavier on these darker areas. Grab some peach and let's put a little bit in this shine. And then back to your Tuscan red. I'm going to grab a little bit of white and just go over top of these again. Blend out some of the reds that are in there and the peaches. Okay. And now I'm going to add some black. We can add a little bit of black in here as well, just to give it more value and to make it look a little bit darker. Can even put it around the stem a little bit. And then put it down in here where the shadow is. And then once you have the shadow in, you can actually go back with your Tuscan red, and blend it a little bit further, just so that it doesn't look like a big black shadow or super hard cast. Let's also grab our Crimson Lake and let's add a little bit more of some color in this lighter area. Use your dark brown and let's darken even further this nice area down here. Can even add a little bit up here, just to blend these out a little bit more. You can use your black too if it's what you want to do. You can even come around here in different areas and add just a touch of black. You don't have to add a whole lot, just if you want to get that nice deeper tone. We don't have to add a whole bunch, just a little bit. And then I have my Crimson Red, and I'm going to go over those black parts just to blend them a little bit further. Now for the rest of this shadow, I'm going to use some French Gray 30, and then we are also going to blend out some more with some other grays. So let's start with our French Gray 30. And then let's use our Warm Gray 20 now. And then French Gray 50. And then let's take our French Gray 70. Just to pull it in a little tighter to the black. And then blend a little bit more of the black area out. Okay, let's start with the stem of the first cherry, and then we'll work our way down to the next cherry. Again, we'll start with a very nice mid-tone. I have my lime peel, and I'm going to color the whole thing in lime peel. And now take your apple green, and we're going to start to add some of the darker color. Get some more lime peel. And then now I have some yellow chartreuse, and we're going to go lighten up some of this. And then now we will use our light umber, and we're going to start to add it to the stem. And then use a little bit of the goldenrod. I'm going to brighten this up a little bit. And then use your dark brown and add the rest of the dark tones in that top. Put a little black in here and up in here too. So I have some olive green, and we're going to darken up behind this first stem. And then let's add a little bit of texture with the olive green. And then smooth it out with our lime peel. Maybe add a little bit of dark green back here. Just to add a little more depth. Okay, on to the second cherry. We're going to use the same technique that we did with this one. We're going to base it out in terracotta, and we're going to preserve the shine with the white. And then just keep switching back and forth until we like what we see.